There's a difference, for example, between a craving and a desire. You see, a craving is a thing that you think that you want, that the world told you that you should want. It's something that's been projected into you, onto you through society, culture, media, hypnotic rhythm of programming of your parents or other people's expectations, which, by the way, is the number one regret in the deathbed, is living your life according to other people's expectations. Those are cravings for approval, or just raw carnal cravings to prove that they're good enough, prove that they're whatever.
Welcome to the Sole Proprietor Podcast. I'm Curt Kempton.
And I'm Melody Edwards.
Each week, we dive into the ethical questions that keep entrepreneurs awake at night.
Whether you're building your own company or exploring life's big questions, you are welcome here.
Hey, Melody, how are you today?
I'm normal, Curt. How are you?
I am so good because we've got Josh Latimer back. And I don't normally like hearing my own voice, but I was like, I really want to listen to the Josh podcast. So luckily, I didn't talk too much, but we had so many questions left that getting him back here was a non-negotiable.
So Josh, why don't you give him your thoughts? Because you had said, Curt, when you went for a minute away, Josh and I were talking. Josh, what did you say about Curt's voice?
Both of you have a legit national radio show level voice. And I'm not doing fake patronizing. Like when I listened to the first one in my rental car in Idaho, and it just shook me. I was like, whoa, like you guys have a cool vibe. Curt is an insanely gifted speaker, articulator person. He knows he is. He's just really mean to his own self, which is why he's hypercritical and a perfectionist. Like the world needs to know Curt Kempton and Melody. And Melody, if I had to rate it, I think Melody even has a better radio voice, but both of them are elite and could be national stage. Because yours is so warm, Melody. And yeah, we were talking
Thank
about
you.
that.
Well, take the compliment, Curt.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's speechless.
Yeah, I'm speechless. All right,
So,
Melody, I think I'm going to give you first crack at Josh because before he got here, we were both talking and I think I might have dominated the last conversation. So I am going to give you the honors.
yeah, thank you. I'll accept. You actually didn't dominate the last conversation. There were parts where you were more upfront, but this is definitely the part where I'm like, now I need to pick his brain. And the things that I didn't talk about as much last time or ask about were all in the realm of sales mostly, and still mindset. But I really think knowing that you've been around a lot of, like you've learned from the best, Josh, you continuously are improving yourself, you're reading, and you are the best at a lot of these things in my eyes. Definitely comparatively.
Check it out more, Melody.
Yeah. I go to so many conferences. I have like a level now where I see through people. I probably have put you too high on the pedestal. I'm sorry about that. I'll bring you down just here. Okay. So let's just get into it. Do you ever get bored of your own message? Did I ask you that?
Yeah. Oh, it's way worse than that. I get bored of my own story, my own message, and I get bored of my own business. Usually I don't get bored of my business until it works. And then once it works, then I don't want to do it anymore. Maybe I'm addicted to chaos or startup feelings or something. But like, I'm not a good CEO. So I'm not a CEO. I just play one on TV type of thing. I don't like that. I like to learn. I like creativity. I like theoretical, conceptual stuff. The truth is, like, as much, like, I don't think low of myself. I think that I do have mastery over marketing at a level that most people couldn't imagine. And the reason I have it is because I've been obsessed for decades and I do real deep work. And plus, I've done massive volume in various domains and I've worked with thousands of businesses. All that's real. But with all that being said, when it comes to my own stuff, I don't really like selling. I don't like it. I do it because you like have to. And I understand it and I'm good at it actually, but I don't like it. That's not what I live for. Like I've been doing work with Russell Brunson and he's a sales guy. He's like a pitch guy. He loves to sell stuff all the time. He just wants to sell stuff all the time. He's just selling. And I'm watching him and I'm like, why are you the way that you are? How are you the way that you are? I don't know, like the prep or something. And then when I have to sell it, it's like a necessary evil for me.
Oh, I so relate to that. You are just speaking my language. I love developing businesses. I love the hardest part. And then I'm bored. Like I can package it up and then I'm like, okay, where's the next thing that I need to fix? And it's also the least financially, like that's not where you make the money. At least for me, that has not been where I've made any.
Scale the boring message that you don't like selling. That's how you make the money. right? So
Yeah. So, from my perspective, and I see this a lot with people, that makes so much sense because I always thought to be a CEO, you can build the business, but then you have to keep up leveling and you have to stay with the business. And eventually you might have somebody run the business. But I didn't recognize in myself because I had my first business for so many years. I didn't recognize how much I love just the exciting part of it and realizing I don't need to. Like, you're actually a great example to me of being the thing that I like doing. Now, this time I am keeping my business and scaling it because that's the challenge that I've set for myself, but hopefully with somebody else doing that part.
I think I sold a lot of my companies like way premature. I still own a big chunk of software company, but I have tons of partners and like I'm diluted and I haven't worked in that business full time at all, actually, in over 5 years, which is kind of awesome. But part of it's maturity, right? So it's like if you're good at launching and you're not good at growing, part of it is like, well, this is how God made me. But the other part of it is just immaturity, at least for me. It's like, no, probably the right thing to do is to live in the boring and actually incrementally improve. Because if you want to get wealthy or if you want your kids to have advantages or if you want to be radically generous, you have to have more than enough. And the only way you get rich or have more than enough is by doing that. Like there's a lot of money in the boring. One thing I admire Curt about is he's very steady. He's like steady and consistent. Right. And so when I talk to Curt, I'm like, you can go so much bigger. We can go blah, 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 for like 10 years straight. I'm like, come on, do it, do it. And I'm right. It would be bigger. Right. And he should have done it, in my opinion. Right. But at the same time, it's like, it depends on what you want. And fortunately for me, the thing that I'm aiming at is so big that I have to do boring things I don't want to do for extended periods of time, or I can't get that thing that I want. And so I have a choice. It's like either delete and recast what I want, which I'm not going to do, or do the things I don't want to do anyway. Right. But if you're happy, I think a lot of business owners are actually happy, but they think that they're not happy because the internet tells them they're not supposed to be happy. The internet tells them they're supposed to have this nicer car than this and this house and that. And that the Holiday Inn at the water park down the road at the 50% off coupon, that's not a real vacation. You got to go to Mali for a real vacation. And so there's like all this comparison, like it's so dumb. That's why when I do like high ticket consulting with people, sometimes, not usually, but sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 calls before we even start working on their business. And they'll get mad at me because I can't even help someone ethically until I know what they actually want. Because they'll come to me, if it's okay if I tell this story. I've told this story before, but it's a perfect example. I asked a client, what do you want? He said, I want to get to 5 trucks. He had a local home service business. He had 2 trucks. He wants to get to 5 trucks. This is years ago. I already know because I've done this a lot. He doesn't want 5 trucks. He wants the thing that 5 trucks he thinks will get him, right? So I use a technique called the so that bridge. It's really simple. You can do it on yourself. And I'm like, okay, you want 5 trucks, so that what? It takes like 15 minutes for him to even actually answer this because he's like, looks at me like I'm an idiot. He's like, and finally he's like, I want 5 trucks so I can make more money. Stupid, like, duh. Why did I pay you? Is there a refund policy?
Yeah.
You want 5 trucks so that you get more money. You want more money, so that what? Now we're 30 minutes in, and he says, so I can pay off my debt. Now, his male ego didn't want me to know that he had debt. I don't give a crap if he has debt, but I can't help you unless I know what's going. So then we get through that, and I'm like, it's fine. Who cares? That's way less debt than I thought you'd have. And I'm like, you really going to pay me a ton of money and then get up early and do hard things for like years on end just to pay off debt? Like it'll eventually get paid off anyway. Like there's no debtor's prisons. Why are you so worked up about the debt? Who cares? Bad credit. If you get bad credit, that just means you can't get debt. And it seems like you hate it. So that might be a good thing for you.
Man, I want you as my consultant right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to pay off the debt. We're not done, right? He thinks, I call it a placeholder goal. It's what the internet told him he's supposed to want. He thinks he's supposed to want $1 million business and he thinks 5 trucks is that. That's why he wants 5 trucks. He doesn't want that. He wants more money. And he doesn't want more money. What he wants is to pay off the debt. And he doesn't even want that. So I said, you want to pay off the debt so that what? And he said, so my wife will stop nagging me. This is a true story, okay? And he's getting worked up, like his nervous system's changing. Long story short, you want your wife to stop nagging you so that what? And then he started crying. And he said, so that she'll trust me again. And so men, we're simple creatures, honestly. We really are at the end of the day. He's going like all the way around the mountain to do all this stuff. And I'm like, bro, how about I get you the money? That's easy. And we can start having your wife trust you again, like I don't know, what are you doing at 2 o'clock today? We don't have to do all that stuff to achieve this. We can do stuff like in an hour to begin the process of that. And yeah, I'll throw the money in for free, But the clarity it gives you, because if you have a business doing 600,000 and you get to keep 300 of it and you work part-time and are a T-ball coach, that could be a dream life for you. But the internet will make you question if that's what you should want. And so you start wanting things that you don't want because other people tell you should want them. And no one's clear on what they want. In fact, usually when I ask people what they want, they don't even say the 5 truck thing. I have to work to get to the first wrong answer. When I say, what do you want? They say, well, I don't want to struggle anymore. I'm like, that's what you don't want. Tell me what you do want. Well, I don't want, I'm just tired of employees screwing. I'm tired of it being so hard. I'm like, that's not what you want. That's the thing that's annoying to you. We're programmed to obsess and think about all the things we don't like, our frustrations, the pain, what we don't want. I asked my sister before she got married years ago, I said, what kind of husband do you want? And she said, well, I don't want someone that's lazy, and I don't want someone that smokes weed. That's what she told me back then, 25 years ago. And I was like, yeah, cool. So anyway, what kind of husband do you want?
Yeah, I know, right? That's like the biggest thing when you're asking people questions and you're like, you're so clear on what you don't want, but have you spent any time thinking about what you do?
Well, and part of the reason why, especially for someone like Melody, if I'm just going to take a leap on this, but I've known you for a long time, people feel guilty for wanting what they want. And so then they won't let it come out of their mouth. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. It's like some people want to give away $1 million. And their subconscious knows that they can only do that if they possess at least $1,001,001. Right. And so there's all this cognitive dissonance. And so, like, I ask them what they want. They're not going to say $1 million, even though it's really true. That's literally what they want. And they think they're bad. Right. So I'm so deep down this rabbit hole working with people for so long. Like, I have all these definitions now. I have language I use. There's a difference, for example, between a craving and a desire. You see, a craving is a thing that you think that you want, that the world told you that you should want. It's something that's been projected into you, onto you through society, culture, media, hypnotic rhythm of programming of your parents or other people's expectations, which, by the way, is the number one regret in the deathbed, is living your life according to other people's expectations. Those are cravings for approval, or just raw carnal cravings to prove that they're good enough, prove that they're whatever, right? To be rich. You look at Alex Hormozy, his whole career is just to like give the middle finger to his dad. Like, that's literally what it is. Okay. There's a Tony Robbins intervention video with Hormozy. It's really interesting. And I don't fault him for it. What I'm saying is, you can win and still lose. You can get the thing that you think you want and lose. So I think getting clear on that's a really big deal. And the Melody type person that wants $1 million to make the world a better place, that's not a craving. That's a real desire. And it makes me sad when people suppress it. And by the way, the word desire, if you break it apart, means of or from the king. DE prefix of, SIRE, sire, the king. What does that mean? What it means is that when God made you, he put it in you, right? You want that because you're supposed to want that. And yet we live our whole life, according to all this other stuff, forsaking the thing we're meant to want in the first place.
Man, when you preach, you can preach.
I don't mean to. This stuff matters to me, it's like passion.
Yeah, I see it. So that's so interesting. You obviously do know me well. I am very good at telling you what I don't want, for sure. And when I think of like, what is the reason I do all these things? It is very hard. My mind literally is blocked from allowing me to see what the biggest vision is that I would want. I thought about what you said last time of, the people that really have that big impact, who grow the biggest, I don't remember what you said they were, but those kinds of people, they think bigger than and dream bigger than any of us could or think to do or can do. And I don't even know how to quantify what my desires are in a way,
If you look at like your whole life is like 100% of time for Melody's life until this second, what percentage of that whole thing has been dedicated to imagination and dreaming around what you want? It's like 1/10,000th of 1% of your total time.
So very little time. Yeah. And so now I'm frustrated because I've been spending so much more time lately doing that. Can I ask you a question? I had a meeting with a girl yesterday who's very similar to me. We both are in industries or have been in industries like home service, for instance. She's in trucking, and she comes
Very male dominated industry.
Yeah.
very. And the thing that our heart seems to desire, and mine less right now than it ever has before. But in my world, what I saw was I'm really good at training in people and I want to help people in this industry because I see that there are weaknesses and I want to help these small business owners and realizing along the way that they're not actually the person that I should be using my gift for. Not all of them, but as a whole, the industry, because it's the hardest work I've ever done to serve those people. And it's also the least amount of return. Now, it could be a mindset thing, but I have experience working with the right people, and it's a totally different experience. She has the same thing where she's trying to do something that is going to be the hardest thing possible to put into place, and the industry doesn't even want it. And it's needed because she sees the need. But why do we go after things knowing that, like, part of it is my ego or my stubbornness of like, these people need this thing. They'll eventually thank me for it and I will suffer until then, right?
This is a very complicated question because, first of all, the market doesn't buy what it needs, it buys what it wants. Even if the thing that it wants is bad for itself, the market doesn't care, right? So, like, that's part of it. There's some piece of the conversation. We could go there if you want. But then you also have like people that have a strong sense of oughtness is another Joshism thing. I don't know where I picked it up, but it's like, because I have this, it's like, well, it ought to be this way. It ought not to be that way. You know, like if you have a strong,
Oughtness is particularly sticky because you have visionaries like Steve Jobs who thought we ought to not use styluses and we had to have touchscreen devices that were phones and could do all sorts of stuff in the app store and blah, blah, blah. And that vision really, that ought to be, really ignited and it went well. And then if you watch Jury Duty, there's a guy who invented chair pants. Everyone ought to have chairs that just come down from their pants. I'll tell you what, it's a cool idea, and it ought to be that way, but no one's walking around with chair pants. So oughtness is a very fascinating way of looking at it.
if you're an idealistic thinker, life is hard for you. From a business perspective, Steve Jobs is successful because he's an oughtness person. He made a bet on where the puck was going, right? You ever heard the quote, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where it's going?
Yeah, Michael Scott said that. I remember that.
You got to understand, for every Steve Jobs, there's 1.6 million dead bodies in the wake behind him that they invented chair pants. So it's like, from a business perspective, like there has to be balance. It's like, if you want to help people, and my gift is training people, there's a couple ways we can look at it. It's like, get really rich and spend the rest of your life doing that because you want to, not because you have to. Okay, that's one way you could look at it. Or design a business where you're making a living doing that thing that you want to. I like what Dan Kennedy says. He said, don't change your product, change your customer. So like the easiest way for you to stay in your zone of genius without the frustration of the people who don't deserve to learn your awesome training stuff is to just literally keep searching for a different type of customer with a different type of message, with a different type of price point. And we shift all that. And
Josh, why didn't you tell me that 4 years ago? Because I only did that in December. That's the thing. I could clearly see this girl. She is so brilliant. She's learned from all the right places, but she has that heart, that giver's heart. And you know this about trades home service. There are a lot of broken people there. There's a low barrier to entry. And they are people, you can see what they actually need. They say what they want. You know they need it, but they don't actually want the thing that
there's also the part, like one of my favorite sources to learn marketing ninja sauce from is a guy named Rory Sutherland. I guarantee both of you will love. Just click through and watch some of his most viewed videos, but he's kind of an unknown second, a secret well for me. And I always try to give credit where I learn stuff because I hate it when people don't do that, because all of us learned everything from someone. So I try to specifically do that. But Rory Sutherland's a chairman of a company called Ogilvy, oldest advertising agency in the world, I think. And anyway, the guy's beyond brilliant. But people like him, they're behavioral psychologists. And one rule in marketing is like, customers don't know what they want. They just don't. Like if you would have asked, what's the famous old adage? It's like if you would have asked people in the early 1900s about transportation, they would have told you they wanted a faster horse, right? So like there's this weird balance. There's luck, there's timing, your risk tolerance. But like if you're a Steve Jobs visionary person, you got to have more than one piece to this for it to work. You can't just have the heart. You can't just see where the puck's going. You also have to have brass balls, and you have to be able to sell and market your face off. And so what's happening is like you have pieces of it, but to turn it into economic success, you have to have the other parts. And it just doesn't work, right? Because we have to persuade people on what they should want. We have to reframe the way they're thinking about the problem. We have to like understand language and behavioral psychology. We have to understand finance and economics and budget, make sure we don't go broke on our way of starting to say the message before we have a long enough time to get it figured out. It's complicated and it's really hard.
Yeah, that's literally what I've experienced. And to the point where I felt very stuck and I felt like I owned home service VA. I'd committed to home service. And also, what I was experiencing was these are not the right people for me because I'm operating at a higher level and they're not there
Just
yet.
rebrand it to HSVA and it can stand for like high standard VA or something. Or did you already?
We do call it HSVA. We should have looked into buying the thing, but I've moved to executive level women because the thing you talked about, I'm really good at teaching women how to be more open and I have the language for it so that they can accept the help that they need. It's really purpose driven anybody, but I really love women. I just came back from a mastermind with 15 women. And when you're in rooms where you pay a lot of money to be there, you're getting people who are pretty serious about learning and they're very much more open. And I walked away with like 6 or 7 women who are in conversations with me to get the thing that I do. That never happens at other events. And part of it is me. I do not have the brass balls and I do not sell like that. But being in a room with people who see what you can do makes it easier to buy brass balls.
Generally speaking, people think of you exactly what you think of you.
They think I'm a ditz in that industry. I've heard that over and over again. And they want to see authority, Josh, in the trades and home service. They trust me as a person. Bobby Walker once told me later, and I've had a couple of other guys who are close friends say, yeah, when I first met you, just you seemed really like, he calls me a flower child and other people call me other things, but it's because I don't present. I kind of show them what I think they want to
Have you
see.
ever noticed it's easier to sell stuff when you don't need to sell stuff, and it's hard to sell stuff when you really need to sell stuff? Have you ever noticed?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why is that true? Why does a window cleaner in June have a 90% close rate at a higher price, and he can't sell anything in February when he's panicking and his visa comes due because he went crazy at Christmas? Why can he not sell stuff there, and why can he not sell stuff double negative? Why is it easy to sell when everyone wants it? I mean, that's the answer. It's because you can call it energy, you can call it confidence, you can call it a mirror. People mirror you, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Swag.
absolutely.
Swag.
Yeah. And I think, did we say in the last episode, like confidence and arrogance seem similar to the untrained?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you won't step into your full power because you think people will perceive you as arrogant. But stepping into your full power is just you believing the truth of what you've been the whole time. And like if I had like a hypnotizing thing and I pushed a button and you were just full powered Melody, you would be exactly the same way you are, but your energy would be so different. And so the power you'd show up with, the certainty in your voice, you would still be compassionate, normal, everything that you are. Nothing would be different. But you wouldn't feel anything in your tummy when you said the price of your thing. Like certain things would shift if you stepped into confidence. And the biggest thing that would shift is more people would say yes at higher prices. And do care about your customers, giving them the opportunity to pay you a higher price is good for them, for real. Like people don't believe this. It's really true. I give free advice to people sometimes and like, okay, cool, man. I'm like, you don't understand value. You don't understand what I just said to you. But someone that pays me 100 grand for it, they listen different. They consume it different. They actually get a result from it, right? So it's like your price is part of the value that your customer gets. Because like that mastermind you're talking about, they listen and take notes different than if it was a free local Chamber of Commerce seminar. Even if the same exact women were at that event, none of them they'd be ADDing out different on their phones different. It wouldn't work. Even if the same conversations happen in that other environment, it's not the same, right? Because the price sets a frame for the buyer, the way they show up, the way they listen to you, the way they implement. A lot of people, when you're underpriced, what it does is it subconsciously plants a seed of doubt in the buyer. And so they're like, oh, it's probably not that good, right? If someone paid, what if you added a zero to what do you even charge? How much is your thing?
For me, what I charge is we charge $27.50 just to set up and do some psychology, basically, to get them set up to have a VA.
I want you to just be honest. 27.5 27,500. It's just adding a zero to your number, okay? You deliver the same thing. What would change in your buyer? And you walk them through the same process. What would be different?
They would take it seriously. They would probably listen a lot more seriously and take I would be the expert to them.
I'll tell you, you're right. And what else they do is, you see, the buyer is responsible to find the ROI for themselves. Your framework's actually worth a varying amount depending on who's doing your framework. Well, that has nothing to do with you. Your framework itself is just the framework itself. But if you're talking to a woman CEO that does 23 million and she's stressed and she whatever, and she does your framework, that's worth $1 million to her if that's what it's worth to her. What I'm saying is she will make it make sense for herself because she will exploit it to the level she needs to make it make sense to herself. Does that make sense?
100%. It's exactly what I know to be true, except I have not put the zero on it. But honestly, I was talking about that today with my operations manager because this is something I think about.
What's the most you've spent on your own personal development? Because this is another.
Like on one thing,
I think it's like one of the biggest line items in our monthly budget.
lately it's been, I think, $15,000 or $20,000.
Like on one program or something?
It was a program.
You need to have a $15,000 offer. The reason I asked that was people are like, oh, I'll just charge $27,000. The most I've spent is I bought a course for $97. That you won't be able to sell it. So like when you go all in on yourself and you have that buyer psychology, you're like, I have to make this make sense and blah, blah, and you're consuming it different, applying it to your life and you're living it out. And you're like, now that level's unlocked for you, right? And then later, maybe you'll do more if it makes sense. You can definitely waste money on nonsense. I'm not saying buy nonsense. What I'm saying is don't be scared to go all in on yourself. And then don't be scared to offer value at the same level. That's what I'm saying. Cool.
That's really helpful. And not just for me. I'm going to have this part of the podcast. I'm going to send it to friends who are struggling with the very same thing. And because I know it's true.
Like this isn't even theory or anything like that. Like people think it's insane that a window cleaner guy who lived in a trailer park charges $100,000 for stuff. But I do, and I keep doing it. And then the people that pay me when we're done, they pay me again. And one guy's done it 3 times. Okay. It's because what I know is that valuable. It just is. And so when I have a price like that, definitely some people just can't do that. Right. But the right people that can, like no one can buy an offer that doesn't exist. Right. And so it can be weird. I mean, my friend Myron, he has $1 million offer. When he first told me, I'm like, okay, because he's the man. I love Myron. He sold tons of them. I want to say I could be off on this, but I think it took like a year before he sold one. And he has a huge audience. And once he sold one, then it was another one and another one and another one. And then a person that did it and bought it again and another one, another one.
Wow, that's so cool, man.
It's another level. I don't even think of money the same. Like it doesn't mean much to me anymore. The first time I invested in Conquer or something, every dollar, it just felt so important. One of the people they had come to the event was a female longevity expert. She is brilliant and amazing. And she's an expert because she was brought to this event. She is an expert, but it becomes more of like we trust her because of that, right? Her offers were $7,500 and $20,000. And I didn't bat an eye about her saying that because I know that the value that she would be giving when I'm struggling with like hormonal issues or something, I don't want to go to more doctors anymore. I just want the problem solved. So I guess I do spend money like I have the money, but it always comes back, I feel like exponentially, not the level I'd like yet, but it does come back to me, if that makes sense.
It does. Like the biggest mistake like new entrepreneurs make is that they price their stuff according to the stuff instead of according to the outcome of the stuff. And people buy outcomes, not products. Like no one wants a drill, they want the hole in the wall. And by the way, this is why price is elastic in ways people totally misunderstand. Longevity to you is worth an amount in your subjective brain that you make up. But to someone else, it's worth every dollar in their bank account and retirement account. It depends, right? And so like the product doesn't have to change for the value to change. That's why Dan Kennedy said, change your customer, not your product. That's exactly what that means. We're just going deeper into it now. But it's like, there's a story of a dad gave his daughter a really old junky car. And he said, go sell this and get some money. Have you heard this? And she takes it to the pawn shop and he's like, I'll give you like $100 for it. Thing's worthless. And she's like, oh man. So she takes it to another place and he offers $500. So she feels kind of dejected. She tells her dad, this isn't worth anything. I thought they would give me more. He said, you're taking it to the wrong place. Take it to this other place. Takes it to the last place, which is a classic car dealer, and they pay her $30,000 for the car because like the value is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so she, like, if she's a regular business owner, would keep selling her car for $100 to the pawn shop, not understanding the true value. If she can change the buyer, the car's the same. That's not the variable. The buyer, the avatar, the customer, right? Their perception of the value is different. And it's true for everything. I don't care if you have a pooper scooper business or if you clean windows or what you do. This is true. I was at an event with Tony Robbins once, and not like me and him are hanging out. I'm at an event. He's the man. We're all there as attendees. I'm the PM, like everybody. But he was walking around and he did something really interesting. He had a lady stand up whose identity was, I'm thrifty. And he had another lady who was actually a friend of Ashley and I's stand up, who was like, I'm a premium, I'm a luxury goods person. And he had both of these women hold up their purses. And the one lady had a $20 bag from Walmart. And our friend Kaylin had a $5,000 Louis bag. And he was like pitting them against each other in front of the crowd. And he's like, tell me what you think about the Louis bag lady. And she's like, that's just ridiculous. And it's a waste of money. And it's insane. No bag is worth $5,000, right? And the crowd's like, oh, snap. Oh. And then they go to the Louis lady, our friend Kaylin, and like, tell us what you think about the Walmart person. And she's like, I think she's cheap. She doesn't understand her own value. I bought this bag to reward myself because we made $10 million and we did this and we did that. And the crowd's like, woo. But the crowd split, right? Because here's the thing. All of us are premium value buyers on certain categories, and we're thrifty buyers on other categories, So like I had a guy that was a professional golfer try to argue with me on my window cleaning price one day. And he was very like insulting to me. He looked down on me. He was an arrogant, rude person. And he's in a McMansion on a golf course with a $200,000 boat. And this is 20 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, it's like $300 cleaning windows. He's like, I'll give you 200. And I'm like, okay, have a good day, sir. I'm mad. And I talked to my friend Kevin Dabrowski, who both of you know, back in the day. And he's like, Josh, that same guy will spend $5,000 on one golf club the next day. The same guy that's like, 200. I don't even want to pay 200, but I'll give you 200. So what does that mean for us? What it means is that when you present your value to the world and certain people say, no, that's insane. You're blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter. It's for the right person. It's like, oh my God, yes, thank you. And here's a $100 tip, right?
But going back to the Tony Robbins story, I need to know how that debate ended.
Well, he was making the point that people do everything that they do for one reason, and it's to reinforce their identity. So his point was like, when the lady spent $20 on the Walmart bag, she increased her perceived status with herself by acting in congruence with who she thinks she is. She's like, I'm a thrifty person doing thrifty person things, and I just did another one, a little proof point to add to my spreadsheet of proof that I am this thing that I think I am, right? And then Kaylin, it's the same thing. She's like, I'm a high value woman who has earned the right to reward herself, and self-care is okay. She has her whole own thing, and she did that act to put her little proof point in her spreadsheet. And so they're both doing it for the same reasons. It was his point, right? And so like with selling, like, I mean, we can go really deep, but it might get in the weeds, but that was the point he was making.
Okay. Thank you. I just needed to know I needed to close the loop on that. Curt, can I ask 2 more questions before I let you say words? I'm sorry.
Yes, of course.
These might be simpler. They're never simple. One of the questions I have is like, what boundaries are non-negotiable for you now that weren't before? As you've done your business journey, as you've grown as a coach, as your value had, like, what boundaries have you put up and what have you maybe taken down? I'm not even sure which direction that goes in.
Like access to me or like my clients, and not like killing myself over.
Yeah. I think whatever you think of as a boundary.
Yeah, I've learned a lot in that category because like my original fear, I still have this as like a thing. Like I'm always scared that I won't deliver enough, right? I'm always paranoid. For example, when people pay me $100,000, I'm not like, haha, amazing. No, I'm very careful. They go through an application process. They talk to my team, then they talk to me, then I talk to them again, and I make sure that they're sure that they're sure. And they're like, do you have a payment plan? And yes, you wire me 100 grand. That's the plan. No, and answer final questions. They do it, but I have to know, I have to believe in my heart that if they do portions of what I'm going to have them do, they will make orders of magnitude more than the money they gave me. If I don't feel that, I'm not doing it. I can't sleep at night right now. At the same time, if they don't do any of the stuff, which never happens at that level, but if they don't do the stuff, that's not my fault. But what I didn't realize on the journey up to that, because it started with like 5 grand, then it was 10, then it was 20. And I did a bunch of engagements at 20, then at 30, then at 40. I did several at 60. And the first one I did at 100, I did it because I didn't want to do it. And so I just thought he'd go away, and he bought. And then he bought again, and then he bought again. So then that's just the price now, right? Because that's not even my main business. It's just, it helps me get cash. And I throw it in the black hole of my startup. Okay. But it's fun and it gives me good stories. But in the beginning, I was like too accessible, serve them too much. And what happens is people respect you less when you don't value yourself, right? So it's like in my attempt to over deliver them, it has a weird, needy, pick me, teenage girl energy of like, oh my God, like ask me on a date. It's like this weird, it works against you. And so, like, when you study people like Dan Kennedy, he's the extreme other side of this to the point where I'm not even comfortable, but he's right and I understand it. Where, he has to train his clients to obey him. And he would use language like that. He's like the extreme aggressive, but it's like the only way you can contact Dan Kennedy is through a fax right now. Right? It's 2026 right now. He'll do anything for. He won't get out of his chair for less than 100, and you have to send him a fax. Then when you work with them, there's all these rules, right? So I have rules. Like when people send me a Voxer message, it needs to be less than 2 minutes and it needs to be formulated as a my question is thing because it gets out of control. And like the level of busy I operate on right now is most people don't understand it, or like smaller companies are like, hey man, what's up? Oh yeah, I thought of you when I sent this. And then they think I'm being mean because I don't reply. It's because I can't reply. I'm doing so much stuff. Like there's so much stakes and pressure and team, and so there has to be boundaries. There has to, or I can't do the thing that I want, right? It's hard for me. Like I have a talk with a young man who I was helping for free because I still always am doing that. Like I pick people out or just like crush it for him. But he was abusing it. And the problem is he doesn't know that he is, because he's just this little guy running around doing the little guy stuff, just like me. He was doing the little guy, baby Josh was, and he's talking to me like we're buddies. I don't have buddies. I don't have them. I have 3 dogs, 5 kids, more than one company. I travel a lot, and we're in like a critical nexus point with millions of dollars of my wife and I's money on the line. I don't have friends right now by choice. Like it's just, so I had to like literally like tell him the truth. And I know as I'm telling him how he's going to receive it because he has information he doesn't understand. And it's not that he doesn't understand, it's that he can't understand. That's what makes it hard, right? One thing if someone could understand and doesn't, then you can get mad at them. But when they can't understand, you can't get mad at them. So it was hard, but I still did it. I had to cut it off. Those are hard decisions to make.
Yeah, I feel that deeply because as I've grown, I think of myself still when I was younger in business and how much I wanted to understand business, learn it. I wanted to learn from people. People have given me a lot of time from them. And I think that probably has been frustrating for them at times.
What happens is people that all don't get this, they just go in a circular pattern, giving each other their time all, but they're not really going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? They're just like, we're all helping each other. And it's just like a circular thing.
It is a circle, yeah. But knowing that I wanted to scale my impact, but I see people that remind me of me, and it kind of hurts my heart. I don't know how I kept moving forward, and they have to go on their own journey, but I still want to help them. And I think sometimes that because I'm figuring boundaries out still, it's something that can be painful at times.
Just rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, at some point you got to be like, am I going to go for it or am I not? And the only way it's going to work if you go for it is if you die. We talked about this in the last episode. Like the current version of you has to die. It's almost like an honoring, like you love the current version of you. Thank you so much for getting me here, but I have to kill you now. And then you need to just to be this other version. And you already know what it's going to take. It's like being confident doing it. Like you already know, we already know. Most of us need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. We don't even need new information. What we need is a decision. You know what, by the way, you know what the word decision means when you do etymology on it? Because I'm a dork, autistic.
I was going to say, what, nerd?
Yeah. Nerd.
Decision comes from the root word decide. Decide comes from the prefix and suffix of de, and then that's not the important part, the CIDE, side. Think about this. The word decide, now think of the word homicide, herbicide, pesticide. These words are all cousins, right? Because it means to cut or to kill. That's what it means. So, like, most people pretend like they're making decisions, but they never actually made it. A real decision means the boat is on fire, that there's some sort of positive pressure in your life. Like, a real decision is calling your shot publicly. That's one way to do it. It's not like you have to do it that way, but what I'm saying is, like, you're saying, this is it. I told my wife, I'm going to say yes every time I'm asked to public speak for a minimum of 2 years. I said that. And then I got asked to speak. I'm like, well, I can't do it on that. It's a Tuesday. I can't do Tuesday. She's like, Josh, you said, so there's pressure. I called my shot and I did it and I wanted to throw up and I was terrible. And I did it 100 more times after that. And then now it's a thing. It's a skill I learned. And because I knew I couldn't get the thing that I want unless I had skills I did not possess. You know, all success comes down to only 3 things, which is mindset, skill sets, and network. That's literally it. If you take all of Elon Musk, all of that away, but you let him keep his mindsets and his skill sets, he's an inevitable thing. It doesn't matter if you like him. He can't fail. It's unreasonable. It doesn't even make sense. He'd rebuild the network, rebuild the assets because of the mindsets and the skill sets, right? And so leveling that stuff up, you have to do scary things that make you uncomfortable. It's easier to do scary things that make you uncomfortable if you're around people that are doing way bigger things than you. But it's hard to do that too, because imagine this. I pay money on purpose to be around people that make me feel stupid. You see, what people want to do in the circle jerk scenario we talked about, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing is they want to be the big fish in the small pond. They want to get constantly edified in how smart they are, when the real growth comes from me sharing my cool idea and someone being like, that is way off. Like, you're so missed. And I'm like, okay, like, I paid you to hurt my feelings. That's growth. Because then my mindset shifts. I acquire new skill sets. I'm learning more now. Like, the rate at which I'm learning, even the last like 12 months, is faster and more dense than my whole career probably combined. It's like accelerating, right? But we keep making bets and we're doing stuff. And
I have so many more questions, but I promised Curt that he could say words if he had them.
You said 10 minutes, so we're probably about there.
That was a Melody 10.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Josh. That was amazing.
One of the things that I've been thinking about as I have re-listened to our last conversation, and now you've brought it up again today, is the part about being a CEO and the responsibility that lies on you versus the responsibility that you delegate and inherit, right? You know, we aren't all the same. And that's the beauty of it, right? We hire people who have strengths that, I think it was Steve Jobs said, I hire people to tell me what to do. But at the same time, I'm in charge of the vision. I'm in charge of the mission. I am in charge of gathering the information and then sort of filtering it to make sure that we're on vision, or if the vision needs to change for a very specific reason, that I'm the one that would filter that. I'm just curious, as we've had our conversations in the past, like, what is that push and pull of delegation between you and your leaders within your business? How does that all tie together? And you just talked about mindset and skill set. What kind of mindsets and skill sets does it take that you think to help you keep that in balance?
with my current company, we're not a business yet. We're a startup. And I delineate it like that on purpose because, like, to call what we've done the last 3 years, getting ready to do the real thing that we finally figured out, a business, for my brain, it's not what it is. So what that means is my team, everyone is CEO, except it doesn't mean chief executive officer. It means chief everything that's needed right this second officer, right? And if your company operates like that, like using fancy labels, it's useless. It doesn't mean anything, right? I love meeting little tiny companies who are like, yeah, let me introduce my COO. And they're doing like 800 grand. It's like, you don't have a COO. Like, you guys basically are co-firefighters together, which is fine, but we get too much ego in these labels and stuff. Also, like, what happens is people that have success, they go on the internet and they start teaching people the way and version and flavor of how they had success, and then pretend like it's a concrete dogma of like the path, not recognizing that it's a path. So anyway, the current journey I'm on is like, the first thing that has to happen is you have to have a customer acquisition system. You cannot have a business unless you have a customer acquisition system. Because every business is actually the same business. You're in the customer getting business. There's an old book by P.T. Barnum from the 1800s called The Art of Money Getting. It's public domain. It's amazing. You should read it. And he was the second millionaire in the United States. But anyway, he's a salesman. And so what happens is like we get busy building employee handbooks and systems, and we'll make a sale or two. Everyone's broke, everyone's underpaid. It isn't, but we're not even setting the table to actually build something big. And so I've learned this by not doing this every time before. And I've built and sold companies. Like people look at me and they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, it might be compared to that person and where they're at. But I'm looking at like, how does someone like me build $1 billion thing? What needs to be true? How many paths are there to that? Like, what are the non-negotiables of it, right? And it comes back to this. You have to have a big TAM to build $1 billion thing. You know, the total addressable market has to be really big. You have to have a lot of cash flow because I'm not going to be VC backed or venture backed, even though a bunch of fancy money people want to give me money. I don't want it because all money comes with personality, but I digress. So anyway, I have to bootstrap it. It has to be huge in vision and in mathematical logic. The problem has to be profitable, but you have to have a customer getting system. So like the whole thing I've been working on this whole time is that. And it's taken that long. I come from home services, but my other foot is in this internet marketing world. And it's a dirty, filthy world. I mean, there's good people over there, right? For sure. Tons of.
If you look hard enough.
Yeah, if you look hard enough. These people don't even build businesses. They build offers. It's not the same thing. So to make it even harder on myself, the way I look at it is the customer acquisition system is the bedrock, but I've had that like 4 different times already in the last 3 years. Like I could say words to a person and they give me a lot of money. Then I had to stop and retool everything. And the reason why is because to do $1 billion vision, you can't just have an offer that's like, I made a 2-comp club, and then it collapses and bursts into flames. None of your customers get results. It has to be really real. So like when people give me this much money, they have to follow a series of steps and make orders of magnitude more than that much money. And I need to be able to prove it so that I can ethically, with confidence, say on camera the truth, right? So this is really hard, right? With your question about how do I view CEO and all that stuff, I'm not allowed to care about labels yet because we're a startup. And so I have let Eric, who runs ops for us, I have let him use the title Chief Operating Officer. But I fought it, and I still think it's like meaningless right this second. And that doesn't diminish his work because he's actually really good. People that know Eric from back in the day, like he's former military, he has a master's degree in project management, and he's so organized and he's doing a really good job. But that title doesn't mean anything, right? Now, as a leader, when you are growing a business, because we're going into build a business phase now, titles are actually really important to your team. And you got to be careful. So some of the mistakes I've made with that is because I don't care about titles, I care about vision. I'll dole them out like candy. So I'm like, yeah, sure, you're that. You're the regional vice president.
Yeah.
They build this little ego inside my world. I'm like, why are you doing that? It's embarrassing. We're not even a thing, this tiny thing, but to them, it's this huge. So I don't even know if that answers your question or not, but that's how I view it. We're a startup. I've told my team every day for 3 years, our job was only one job, to go from chaos to slightly less chaos every day. That's it. And at some point, we're going to have a customer getting system that actually spits out success stories on this side and collects profitable money on this side. And when that happens, then it's going to scale. We got to have organizational structure. We're ready for it. We have org charts. We have forecast. We have everything. We have legal and compliance. Like this whole company now has all of my past mistakes have been kind of covered on what I know so far. Because I always joke, I have a master's degree in pain and a bachelor's degree in suffering, and I don't want the PhD in whatever the next thing is. So I'm trying to not get my PhD in this round, but time will tell.
Did you have something to say, Melody?
I was just thinking, I think of my company very similarly. I don't think of it as a business. I think of it as a startup. It's not like my other businesses where I knew the thing I was selling. This was completely new to me. And what I'm trying to do is new, I think, I haven't seen somebody doing it the way I have, and I haven't been able to establish the language fully, right? So when you said this, it's very validating to me because the business for me has only been starting this year. And I've had a business for 4 years now, but I've pivoted 3 times during that
And that's
time.
okay. Problem is the time delay in between things, right? So it's like, even for me, because I want things to be perfect, which is impossible. So it's irrational to ever want that, but it's there. We need to compress time because remember, successful people, they think bigger, they have more volume of action, And that means testing things. They have the volumes big and the speed. Speed's the third thing. They move like speed is king. You got to move. Right. And so the problem isn't that your marketing failed. The problem is that there's a 4-month window in between the second test. That's the problem.
So how have you been able, because I've watched you pivot in how you've presented this, startup.
Just so people know, because they have no idea what we're talking about right now. So I moved my family to Texas, even though I don't even like Texas, to be honest. I felt like God said, go to Texas. And I felt that. I didn't say God told me to go to Texas, because maybe I had a weird pizza dream and I thought that. But I thought it enough to load my crap in a trailer and drive to Texas. Didn't even have a place to stay. I leased a house for $5,000 a month for 2 years. And the only thing I had was one phrase. The phrase I had was decentralized coaching. And I knew in my bones that that was a thing, but I didn't know what it meant at all. So we get here and then a series of events and all this stuff. So what I did was I started teaching marketing just to all the people that already knew me, just local businesses. But if you remember, Melody, all the way back, like I launched this with a program called Recession Marketing. And I just taught that for free for a whole month, just from my home office, no team, anything. I had a word in the back of my mind called decentralized coaching, but I'm teaching recession marketing. What does that mean? Well, I taught it for free. And I told everybody at the end of this month for free, I'm going to delete all this and you have to buy my thing if you want to keep going. And I sold $300 and something thousand worth of that thing, which you bought. You were one of them from my home office. That was the first dollar I monetized with this thing. But I still didn't even really explain what decentralized coaching was to you. Oh, by the way, in recession marketing, I started teaching you guys the info business. Do you remember? How do you teach a plumber about the info business? Like, how do you monetize your expertise? How do you monetize your knowledge? And the problem I was trying to solve was the internet's full of loud idiots, gurus, liars, and charlatans. And then there's good-hearted people like you, like you're my avatar in certain ways, in a big way, because you're actually super competent and qualified to legitimately and quantifiably help another business owner, but you don't think that you are. Or maybe you do now, but like what I'm saying is like there's tons of people out there like that. They think they're not allowed to help someone else or get paid for advice unless they make $1 million or 2 or 10 or 20 million. It's nonsense. So my whole theory was like, look, all of us can help somebody that's 2 chapters behind us. Because a really good coach, if you get too far ahead of someone, it breaks. Even now, I'll make content and like some people are like, they don't get it. And I don't mean to. It's just I'm talking about stuff and like I forgot what it's like a little with this part. I can still answer that, but I'm like, he's better off being with someone 2 chapters ahead of him who just solved that, who just hired that person, who just raised their prices, who just figured out what a P&L is and how to actually chart your accounts correctly and stuff. So anyway, that was the genesis of that. And now we're like, it looks a lot different now, but it's been one straight through line. I'm trying to figure out how to distribute the message of decentralized coaching. And we figured it out for real. So I have a book coming out in a couple months. We have massive promotions coming out. I'm doing that challenge with Russell, like I told you about, and Dan, and that'll be interesting. But like stuff works. We have a mountain of proof, everything like there's still things to figure out. But like I feel really good about what we've created. It just sucks it took so long and it's so expensive. I haven't focused on profitability on this. I just focused on like, what do I have to do to technically survive so we can keep figuring it out? Because the only way you can learn is by doing. And people want to just think until they have the answer, and you can't. You have to iterate. So it's like, I taught this. What happened when I taught the info business? They all stared at me weird. Okay, I sucked at that. I got to do that. How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Then we had our first offer where it's like, hey, okay, buy this next level and you can do an info business. And a bunch of people bought it. I sold $1 million worth of it over that. But I mean, just when I launched it was almost $1 million. And then I'm all excited. And then like delivering on that, I'm like, okay, stop selling it, because a chunk of our people like weren't doing it. And I didn't understand why. And so I'm like, the program's not good enough. Something's missing. And so blah, 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 18 months longer, blah, 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 right? And so it's like iterate. Now we have it to where if someone doesn't succeed with what we have, it's the only reason that happens because they didn't do what we said at all. If they do 2% of what we say, they'll make more money than they paid us. And to me, it's the perfect thing that I feel good about being loud about now.
That's great. I think of it as a science experiment. Like I have not thought of my business, this one particularly, as it's never going to be my baby or anything like that, but it's helping me move forward in the vision. But I definitely think of it as a science experiment so that I don't feel bad basically when it's not working the way I think it should.
Whenever you're not sure, just call it beta. You're good.
Beta, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I can tell you a lot about beta. I think you've talked about a lot of businesses. You've talked about a lot of mindset. We've done a great job of dancing around what you're currently working on. Can you just, for the benefit of everyone listening, talk about your current passion of F.R.A.P and give us sort of like an idea of who it's for and what it's about?
Remember, my life goal and the reason I do all these things and put myself through all this suffering is so that before I'm dead, I have a legitimate chance to give away more than $100 million. That matters to me. So when I approached this business, I had to think of it completely different, right? Because even people in our world we came out of, it's like a $10 million business is like some huge thing. It's like, it's really not. I mean, the SBA defines a small business as any company with less than 500 employees, which means once you hit 500, all the real businesses are like, hey, good job, bud. They pat you on the head. Just start being a business now, right? And that's why all the egos don't make sense down at this level to me because it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing. When I see a $30 million CEO acting like a hotshot, I'm like, I have secondhand embarrassment. I'm like, you're not even a speck on the back of an amoeba in the grand scope of how big the market is, how big real business is. I mean, drive around your town and just look at weird 200,000 square foot warehouses that have random names like Price Industries. What the frick is that? I don't know, but they probably do like 103 million in revenue.
Yeah, they sell like water faucets to all the new
It's
home
just
builds.
literally freaking everywhere. And so because we grew up poor and because home services is in a silo and everybody's walking in circles, like totally leveling up, I had to zoom out from that. And so FRAP is the bedrock of the vision of what we're doing. FRAP is an immutable truth about how to make profit. FRAP is not something that I invented, although we own the trademark. It's something I labeled. I created the name FRAP, but I observed it. So every business in history only makes money because of FRAP. Like every dollar both of you make in your business right now already is because of FRAP. And it's a simple acronym. But before I say what it is, the disclaimer is when I tell you the letters, what they all mean, be careful because what's going to happen is you're going to think that you know what I mean when I say what they are, and you're wrong. Like the well is way deeper than you think, but it's simple on purpose. You know, Donald Trump's successful because he talks at a fourth grade reading level. Like this framework's simple, and you can know a little bit of it, and it will work. But the depth of it is huge, which is why these bigger companies pay me insane money to help them with FRAP. FRAP is an acronym for frequency, referrals, average ticket, and pricing. Frequency, referrals, average ticket, and pricing. Every dollar you already make already is because of that. So if you sold bread, if you were a bread maker in like the Middle Ages, and then I taught you FRAP, you would make way more money. It's actually normal for people to double their personal take home profit without spending any money on ads at all, just from FRAP for free, just through creativity. So I go to the bread maker. She sells her little sourdough for 5 pence, right? And she's like a peasant and she's selling. When she hangs out with Josh and understands FRAP, yeah, are we going to raise our prices? Yes, but we don't just raise the price. We raise what it feels like to buy. We change it, the vibe with the price. And there's a million ways to do that. But it's not about just gouging people. It's about changing the choreography and the scripting, right? And so we'll raise the price. She'll make more money. But then I'm going to create a high ticket offer, right? So there'll be like a fancy sourdough on the back shelf and say, I only got 3 of those. Those are for the lords and the ladies, not for all you other peasants. But then the peasants want it even more because it's $2 instead of 50 cents. And then I'm going to have referrals. So I'm going to do a joint venture partnership or set up a swap agreement with the blacksmith across the street. This is called distribution jacking. Big companies do this all the time. Like, how do you embed your foot in the door offers into the customer flow of other businesses permanently? This is not the same thing as getting a random referral at BNI, like my cousin's neighbor thinking needs a plumber. Good luck. Like, no, embedded referral flows and things. And then frequency is how do you get people to buy faster than they otherwise would, right? If you have $1 million restaurant and your average customer comes once a month, if we can use clever creativity, scripting and choreography, if we can figure out a way to make that average where they come every 2 weeks instead of once a month, you now have a $2 million restaurant just from that one thing. And so there's actually 16 pieces inside of FRAP. The simple levels like raise your prices, cross sell, upsell, get more referrals, and get people to buy faster. All right. So that's the basics of it. But the execution of it is where all the money is, which is why I can't grab it right now, but I have a statue of Leonardo da Vinci on my desk. He's sitting on a Leonardo da Vinci book. Then there's 3 more complete works of Leonardo da Vinci back in the corner over there because he's our mascot. And the reason why is, see, this is why FRAP's a big deal. FRAP is true for every business for real. It's not the least hypey, provable to the Supreme Court logic thing ever from like a logic standpoint, but there's also art. And Da Vinci was an artist and a scientist. And so that's why we do that. It's like you can know the acronym and still stay stuck. You got to do the art of it. It's like, how did you raise the price? What does supply and demand pricing mean? How do you do it? And how do you do it in a way where your customers not only are okay with it, they thank you? How do you raise your prices and get more referrals at the same time? You can. I do it all day. That's what I do. That's why people give me lots of money. And it's through the choreography, the messaging, the positioning, the anchor. It's all the stuff, right? It's the language. It's the word butter. It's all this stuff. And so our distribution model is we certify people in F.R.A.P. They use it on themselves. Once they make a bunch of money, we call that level 1 proof. And now they have conviction. Now F.R.A.P becomes not a theory, but it becomes reality. As soon as they do that, we help them launch a F.R.A.P chapter. And a F.R.A.P chapter is a local mastermind where they go decentralized coach other small business owners that just don't get this stuff. The worst part about small business is that the best people suffer the most. Like we have people in our program that have like 3 autistic kids and they volunteer at their church and they volunteer to everyone and they're literally going bankrupt and they're dead to their eyeballs. And I have a new video from a lady named Suzanne who's crying, unprompted, by the way, on one of our F.R.A.P calls because she said she was so sinking before she got involved in F.R.A.P. And she realized for the first time in her company history, the last 6 months, she hasn't touched her business line of credit and she saved up $50,000. And $50,000 to her might as well be $50 million. And then she started crying because she said, it saved my marriage because before the D word was floating around because things were so crazy. That's what I care about. And so we teach people how to make money and we teach it through F.R.A.P because it's a wide TAM. The decentralized coach can get more specific about leadership and finance training and all the other things a business needs based on their passion. You can have a F.R.A.P chapter that's full of women entrepreneurs. You can have one that's for Christian men. You can have one that's $1 million plus. You can have one that as soon as you hit 100,000, you're kicked out. We literally have a guy that does 60,000 a year in revenue. Okay. Does he even have a business? I mean, sort of. He's launching a F.R.A.P chapter with like 18 people. And guess what? They're all startups doing 50 grand a year, working on how do we charge more ethically? How do we cross-sell, upsell? What does a high-ticket offer look like for a bakery? What does a high-ticket offer look like, right? It's like, it doesn't matter your industry. We have movie theater chains. I have donut shops. I have optometrists. We have a gunsmith. We have every weird industry you can imagine internationally. F.R.A.P works. And so now that we got our minimum viable delivery system here, the message we're taking to the world is you should get paid for the experience you already have. Don't let anyone on Instagram tell you that you need to be Instagram famous, but it could be really lucrative for you to become 5 Mile famous because the cherry on top of this whole thing is that these little chapters sit inside of our software and Da Vinci is the name of our AI that does these joint venture partnerships for them. So Da Vinci knows the personality type of Melody, it knows the local weather, it knows every product and service you sell in that town, and it knows that the flower shop, it knows all of their stuff, who the avatar is, a perfect customer, and it knows the time of year to say, hey, Mother's Day is coming up, Mel, why don't you do a social shout out for her? And then it's tracked and gamified and visibly nationally. So like all these chapters are like helping each other and they're sharing and stuff. And so this is the full manifestation of what decentralized coaching meant when I drove to Texas 5 years ago and didn't know. A lot of people will be mad. BNI is not going to like us. I mean, we're nothing like BNI, but we're going to throw rocks at them because coaches have hurt people. Marketing agencies have lied to people. AI is overwhelming people. In networking groups, people go because they don't know what else to do. But like 50% of the people that go don't even want to go because they know it's a cataclysmic waste of time because it's a 1987 thing stuck in 2026. So all of that's getting overhauled. It's like people helping people, focusing on profit with just truthful pillars of truth, gamifying it, blah, blah, blah. That's our business model.
I'm really glad you're doing this too, because I've heard you speak about each of those subjects independently, and it's been really nice and flowed well. But to put it all together the way that you have, and also to make it that digestible. I mean, that's one of your superpowers, Josh, anyway, but
it's been undigestible the whole time. Like the amount of times I've had to try to talk about what I think I'm trying to do is so much that now it's like I can sort of say it. Sort of.
That's how I feel about my stuff a lot of the times. It makes me feel a little crazy because I'm doing the thing, but I know that there's bigger pieces because I'm still missing parts of the thing. But glad to know that you've also experienced that. I'm all about the validation. And it's interesting because I was part of your group early on and I was in the room when you were building a lot of these things. Everything you just said to me, I completely understand, but I understand it, but not the way you said, you're going to think you understand, but you don't. I just mean the experience of how you've grown
You
this.
see it on the inside, and so you have a unique perspective, and you can see how, like I just described, you're like, oh, that makes sense on how we wound up here. I mean, Curt, when you had your cleaning business back in the day, imagine you were getting paid $6,000 a month to have 2 meetings a month with a bunch of other local businesses, okay, non-competing. And the reason they're paying you is so that they can structurally refer to you. So that's what this is. And you get to scratch the itch of being a good-hearted person that's actually helping them because most of these people, you don't want the cocky, arrogant people. Some people just don't want to grow. We don't put them in the FRAP chapter, but people that are hungry, FRAP works, man. People are just undercharged. Like they need the courage to do it. It's easy to do it in a group when everybody's doing it and they're encouraging and we're testing. It just makes sense, right? I don't want to be a guru because it's bad for the end user. When we grew Conquer really big, I noticed that the bigger it got, the worse it was for the new people coming in. When I started Conquer, it wasn't like that. It was awesome because it was like people, we met every week and we're on Zoom, we're a family. But it gets corporate and sterile when it gets big. With this model, that can't happen because when one gets too big, it's going to split into two. And so it's going to have that small room feel the whole time. Plus, it's more affordable. We had to charge $1,000 a month for a regular business to like join Conquer because we had to like pay a fee to our coaches and do all this stuff. And it's like this corporate block. The business model of this is so different. I mean, people can join these little groups for like a couple hundred a month for an in-person mastermind with insane multi-million-dollar software, with insane proven content that's already been tested 600 times. And they're just the meeting in person is worth more than that. So it's like a really affordable and monetizes the knowledge, creates a joint venture engine, feels good. And then nationally, we just support all these chapters, with like big live events and giveaways and shout outs. And we'll send a camera crew to the single mother from Wichita who had a FRAP win and like to inspire everybody else. And that's kind of our role is to like certify people, get them launched, and then help them grow.
So one of the things that Melody and I talk on here a lot about that I wanted to talk about FRAP for a second so that I could get to this part that's really at the heart of the reason we made this podcast is I asked you about you as a CEO or as a leader of an organization. How are you dealing with that push and pull of your vision versus the strengths of other people who may need to override you at times or may need to push and pull against you and, how that all works. Then there's the ethics side of marketing where it's like, I got to feed my starving family. I'll do anything to sell. I'll listen to any marketing guru. So there's a different push and pull. And this push and pull is more of an internal. Well, there's the internal company, and then we keep going inside and we go inside of ourselves. And after you've sort of described this whole FRAP framework and network, really, take us on the internal journey of like, my favorite part about you is this ability to make marketing ethical, not a charlatan, not a thief, and saying, one of the lines we quote you on all the time is that it's your moral obligation.
I got that from Myron. That's a Myron quote, but I say it all the time. It's like part of me now. Yeah, and people have a lot of pushback. I was actually editing my book right before this, and there's a section, it's like the 4 irrefutable. Like I make very dogmatic claims just to trigger people. And like one of them is your moral obligation to make profit. Because people are like, whoa, 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 no, it's not. And we're trying to think of how it's not, how it's not, how it's not. Look, we think that like being broke is somehow a moral high ground. And I would argue it's like the ultimate act of selfishness and cowardice. And I know that's very strong language. But see, what happens is the real reason people stay stuck is because they're scared and selfish. That's the real truth. What they do is they wrap a veneer on it of, well, for me, I'm just a good person. And that's not true. There's a dirty underbelly there. And I've seen this movie before. Okay. I'm not like, this is my world. I know my customers because I am my customers. I know my customers better than they know themselves because I am them. So I just attack that. And by the way, like when we were in startup mode and we still sell stuff, Nothing we sold was a made up like charlatan thing. The problem was I would sell things to get money to continue the R&D, but the thing we sold was perfectly valuable. It doesn't mean it's perfect. I'm just saying it was like people loved it, but it wasn't scalable to the vision. So I had to stay in startup mode to like that wasn't the thing. That's not the offer I can put. Like Warplan Insiders, a program Melody bought, was a $5,000 thing. And she got a lot more than $5,000 worth of knowledge and value out of that. But that's not the thing that I'm going to give $100 million away with, right? Like that's not the vehicle. So it's like it gave seed money. Then we built software, a first version of software. I sold a lot of that.
I think I'm a founding member of your software, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. We're doing a mega update to that. We always sold real things that were valuable, but it didn't fit the model I needed that I felt like we could run with for the next 7 years and be loud about, if that makes sense. It's really tricky. It's like, how do you go to a stranger who does not know you, definitely doesn't like you, and for sure doesn't trust you? In fact, they have no trust. And how do you get that person? Think about this. This is a problem I'm currently solving. How do I get a stranger, that particular stranger, to give me $6,000? Our current price on certification is $6,000. And then when we get 100 chapters live, it'll go to like 10. And then we'll price it according to what different things. But it's $6,000. How do you do that? And how do I do it without hiring a sales team? Because I'm actually trying to avoid hiring a sales team. And the reason why is, have you ever heard of perverse incentives? So like there's this town in like Ireland in the 1800s, they had an overpopulation of squirrels. And so like the city council or whatever it's called there decides like, hey, let's pay people a bounty for every squirrel tail they bring us. Like basically we're going to incentivize the town to kill squirrels. And so that seems logical, right? A year and a half into this, they had 5 times more squirrels than they had before, and they had paid out a fortune to the townspeople. Any idea why? This is what was a perverse incentive, because people started breeding squirrels, right? so, so like with sales,
Oh man. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of
part
that.
of my heart with all this is like, I want to ethically use persuasion, not manipulation, to get people to make a decision that's in their best interest. And I know how to do that. But like if I start building a call room out and we just start scaling ads, because when I run ads like, hey, BNI sucks, check this out, we will get leads that fast. It's like, it's huge. But I don't trust salespeople in a call room to do the thing I want. So making it 10 times harder on myself, probably unnecessarily, I'm trying to figure out how to sell it just through videos on the internet to 6,000. That is a hard thing to do, but
That whole know, like, and trust thing is a real
I
barrier.
should show you guys like the way I'm going to do it. You're gonna be like,
I'm excited about it. If you crack the code,
there's
then
multiple
then I think,
pieces to
like,
it and
any
stuff. And obviously we'll tweak it and stuff, but we're really, really, really excited. Like my family suffered a lot to get us here. And when this works, it'll be bigger than by 1,000 times anything I've ever built before. And it's not because I'm smarter, it's because the market is bigger. I have so much more understanding over like that, things I didn't understand before. So like the limiters are less and the opportunity size is bigger. You know, like I have a window cleaning business in a town, it can only get so big. And then you got to have 2 towns. And then you got to have, this is different than that. So it can get big. It's a very word of mouthy thing. There's a really strong affiliate program. Both of you, I'd love for you to be affiliates.
I would love to be a part of it. Yeah.
Very, very generous. And it's good.
I feel like that's a really good fit for us too.
My favorite part about this, just so you guys know, F.R.A.P is really true. It's not a trick. There is nothing anywhere in our offer that's like, I had to make sure they don't know about that part. Well, don't tell them about that part. We'll tell them that part later. That doesn't exist. Like this whole thing is, it's so hard to create something that's actually good, not perfect, but good. And so like F.R.A.P's real and it's simple. It's simultaneously simple enough that my 7-year-old gets it and $100 million owner can profit from it. And so like, it's like a gift from God, this framework. And as you learn more about it, hear about it, you'll start seeing, but the stories we have are crazy.
I'd like to get in on that too. And I think that when you say it's good but not perfect, obviously I've never been diagnosed with OCD. I don't know if I would be diagnosed with it. I think I might have a touch of it or something that's, holding me back. But perfect is definitely a really dangerous word. But you know what simple does is it makes perfection a lot more in reach. And I think that's the elegance of simplicity, is that when you have to make a billion things all work together, getting it perfect is really, really hard. But I also know that simply I need to eat less calories than I consume each day, and I can have a beautiful physique. Simple isn't easy, but simple moves towards that beautiful perfection that I think people like me are always trying to pursue and being very frustrated by. And I think that's, as you were describing it, that was something that really resonated with me, is that this is a very complicated thing that has been distilled down in a more simple way. And it's more understandable, it's more attainable. And I think you've really torn down a lot of the barrier. Like, I did BNI for, I think, 3 months. And by month 2, I knew that month 3 would be my last, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to use the word excellence instead of perfection, but that's a dangerous word too. So another way to think of it that Russell Brunson told me was, are you proud of it? And it's kind of an interesting way. It's like, I'm proud of it. There's always more to do on it, but like, I'm proud of it. And you can hear by my excitement, like, I'm proud of it. But there's like things that are broken, a wire poking out of a hood, and like, it doesn't matter because the community's right. It's good. We're going to co-create it as a group. And it's all.
And as you said, the transparency in which you're doing it, meaning the way that you talk about these things, there's no sleazy sales techniques. That's how I am sold on things. I want transparency.
I tried to do that from the beginning with this whole thing. That was like part of my, from the beginning, I was like, I'm going to be radically candid. And so I told everyone what I was doing, how I was going to sell them. I was teaching them how to do it, even if they didn't buy, because they need to know. And then like every time we built the software, it's like super, everything we've done, we talk about with our community and stuff. And yeah, so I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Josh. We love having you on. And I know that our audience is so thankful for the time you've spent with us. And, you know, Melody was saying before you came on, we just really need this to be for the audience. And I feel like so much of this can be dug up for an entrepreneur who feels lonely, an entrepreneur who feels skeptical of going out and wanting. You know, I think that was an important thing that came out for me today as well, is that wanting isn't bad, especially if what you want was given to you by God. You know, like, let's go.
Thank you so much, Josh. We'll have you again in the future.
Thank you. We'll catch up.